You are
This
recording.
meeting is being recorded.
There we are. We're recording.
Right. Would everybody like to start, or would you like to give it just another second?
I am okay giving another second if you know there's people that are planning to come and just haven't arrived yet. But since we are recording, if you think this is the crowd we're going to get, I'm okay starting too.
Great. Why don't we start at 12:05 and see if anybody else trickles in?
Okay.
Good idea. Thanks, Elliot.
Of course. I want to know who got the ESPN updates on their phone.
There was a trade.
That was me. Anthony Rizzo is now the Cubs ambassador upon retirement.
So
case
I
anyone wonders.
got that someone's waiting in the lobby on Microsoft Teams as well. So I'm going to join the meeting to let them in. So Amari, I don't know if you can go into Teams and direct people to Zoom. If there's some sort of confusion. Okay, without ending the recording, if you can do that. That would be great.
I'm going to do it through my phone.
Okay,
so
wonderful.
So I won't even touch my laptop.
That technology just went over my head. So okay, good.
Let's see. We can go ahead and get started. It's 12:05. I'll let people in that's in Microsoft Teams.
Wonderful, wonderful. Okay, well, we can begin. I'll lead us off, and then I will introduce Commissioner Steele. We're very thankful that you're here with us today, so thank you for joining us. My name is Elliot Richardson. I am the co-founder of the Small Business Advocacy Council. Our organization is really laser focused on supporting small businesses and local businesses throughout the state of Illinois, in Cook County, in Chicago. We're policy driven, we're nonpartisan. Our goal is to cut through a lot of the partisan nonsense and noise that we hear and really focus on good public policy that will help small businesses grow and thrive and support local communities. So a lot of the work we do focuses on revitalizing neighborhoods in Chicago. That's a big focus of our work. And today we're going to be talking about property taxes, which are a very big issue in Cook County. And we're joined today by Commissioner Samantha Steele. Thank you so much, Commissioner, for being with us with your team. And we look forward to hearing about how to prepare for an appeal if that's the route that a property owner is going to go. And with that, Commissioner Steele, we'll give you the Zoom floor.
Thank you, Elliot, and thank you, Amari, for having us. I'm Samantha Steele, the Board Review Commissioner for the 2nd District. I really want to express that I appreciate everything that your organization does for small businesses. I personally believe that, the neighborhoods create the fabric of the city and county that we love. And the foundation of those neighborhoods are our small businesses. So they're nothing beats going to your local boutique or restaurant in your neighborhood. And without those organizations and foundation such as yours, those small businesses would be left to floating on their own. And so at the Board of Review, we thought it would be important to reach out and help the property tax owners for small businesses on how to best file an appeal. And this is sort of taken from something that Commissioner Rogers had already started doing in the 3rd District. So we're opening this up. And so Jim Von Dellen from my office has graciously agreed to present. And so I'm going to turn it over to him. Thank you very much.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Commissioner. Good afternoon. Welcome to our property tax workshop for small businesses. My name is Jim Vandell. As the Commissioner mentioned, I serve as a commercial appeal analyst, along with Commissioner Steele in District 2 for the Cook County Board of Review. For those of you who are not familiar with the Board of Review, we are an agency set up by the Illinois legislature to review property tax assessments independently outside of the Cook County assessor, who establishes your valuation. I've been at the board since 2020. I have a background in commercial real estate investment training, and I work regularly with business owners such as yourselves who are seeking reductions on their property tax assessments. For today's presentation, if you do have a question during the session, you can go ahead and type it into the chat feature. We will be monitoring that throughout the session. Or if you prefer, we will have a question and answer period at the end of the presentation where we will do our best to answer all of your questions. So let's go ahead and get started. Today, we're here to talk about the steps for submitting a commercial property tax assessment appeal to the Board of Review and making sure you and your attorney have all the resources that the board needs to conduct a thorough and fair review. Our end goal is to make sure you are not overassessed and are only paying your fair share of property taxes to Cook County. More so, and this kind of chimes in with what Ellie and what the Commissioner were talking about at the beginning of the presentation, our goal today is to help you become more familiar with the Cook County property tax system overall, to know the role that the assessor plays in valuing your property, how the Board of Review exists to serve as a check and balance for that valuation, becoming involved with knowing how to submit an appeal, when those triennial periods are coming up. So that's information we're looking forward to sharing with you today. First, let's take a look at the Cook County property tax system. Your commercial property is assessed a valuation every 3 years by the assessor's office. This valuation can first be appealed at the assessor's office, and regardless of the assessor's decision on that appeal, the Cook County Board of Review is set up as a separate agency to again appeal your valuation following their decision. Please know that filing an appeal with the Cook County assessor is not a prerequisite to file an appeal at the Board of Review. If you miss the appeal deadline for the assessor, you can still appeal at the Board of Review. Currently for 2025, the North Townships are starting their triennial cycle. This includes all Cook County townships north of North Avenue and not in the city of Chicago. Also note that you can file an appeal during any year of your triennial period. So let's take a look at why Cook County property taxes seem so high. And this is going to be for the same reason that so many people like yourselves set up shop in Cook County and invest in commercial real estate in Chicago. Location, location, location. We are home to the third largest city in the US, centrally located in the nation. We serve as a hub for all types of businesses. There is unparalleled access to workforce, transportation, highways, airports, plus a great amount of culture and history. Altogether, Cook County really is a great place to live and do business, yet we pay a premium for it. Also, it's important to note that with commercial properties in Cook County, those are assessed at 25% of their market value, whereas residential properties are assessed at 10%. So what does Cook County spend its property tax dollars on? These will be the same attributes for why we pay a premium to live here: schools, libraries, fire protection, and several other government services. If you take a look at the pie graph on the slide, the majority of property tax dollars are spent on your local school district and municipality. And it's important to remember that all of your property tax dollars are spent locally. Still, we want everyone to only pay their fair share of property taxes. When it works, it is an equally shared investment in our business and home communities. So let's take a look at how to prepare a property tax assessment appeal for Cook County Board of Review. First, and one of the most important items to remember, is that if you are registered in Illinois as a corporation or LLC, you will need to be represented at the board by an attorney. Individuals who have business properties titled in their own name and not their business may represent themselves before the board through what is called a pro se hearing. So why do you need an attorney to represent you in front of the Board of Review? This rule was established by the Illinois legislature based on the premise that completing and filing a property tax complaint form and appearing before a tax board to represent a taxpayer constitutes the practice of law, which only licensed attorneys can do. And given that attorneys are regulated and held to a standard of professionalism within their practice, this allows for that same level of professionalism during the appeal process. There are numerous attorneys available who will represent you on an appeal. We are not able to recommend an attorney for you, but we encourage you to do your research. Talk to other business owners and see who has a good, credible reputation. In most cases, a credible property tax attorney will know the Cook County appeal process and what resources are needed. However, no one knows your property better than you, so it is beneficial when you are just as familiar with the appeal process and the resources needed to ensure you submit the most comprehensive appeal possible. So what information will you need for your appeal? Depending on whether you lease your property or own and operate out of your property, there are different resources you will need to provide to your attorney as part of your appeal. We'll talk through both types and see where there's overlap. First, all appeals for both leased and owner-occupied properties will require a signed attorney authorization form, a detailed property description, the basis for your appeal, whether the property sold within 3 years from the lien date, and an affidavit and evidence related to any vacancy that your property is experiencing. Let's take a look at each. First, your attorney will need to provide a signed attorney authorization form showing they are approved to represent your appeal and which shows they are a licensed attorney. They will also need to provide a detailed property description, including the square footage, age of the building, its current use, and the basis of your appeal, whether you believe it is overvalued or if it is experiencing vacancy or other valuation related issues. The attorney will summarize this in a brief as part of the appeal, and the analyst will check this description against the assessor records to make sure that it is accurate. Second, you will need to provide your attorney with any sale information related to your property within the last 3 years of the lien date. It's important to include a copy of the closing statement to verify the sale was an arm's length transaction between two parties at market value. If you do have a financing appraisal related to that sale, you can provide this to the attorney also. It can serve as a helpful alternative to a valuation appraisal, which is typically created exclusively for an assessor or board appeal. For properties that are experiencing above market vacancy, which for leased property is unused space due to loss of a tenant, a vacancy affidavit is required. This is an important document if you are experiencing above market vacancy for the year you are being assessed. The affidavit identifies the amount and the length of vacancy for that given year. So if you are experiencing vacancy during your valuation year, you and your attorney will need to provide an affidavit detailing the square footage of the building that was vacant, whether it was part of the building or all of the space, and for how long. You will also need to provide a dated photo showing the interior of the vacant portion during that time period. In addition, the board will be looking to see what attempts you have taken or are taking to market and lease the vacant space. So make sure to include any past or current listing information that you might have available. Or mention, if you haven't begun that process yet, mention that you're about to begin that process. We're looking to see that there's effort being made to remedy the vacancy. Since the pandemic, we've seen lots of vacancy requests for office and retail properties due to loss of tenancy. With this evidence, the board will consider a vacancy request by checking against the market level and seeing how that vacancy is affecting the overall performance of your income producing property. Now let's take a look at the different resources you will need to provide for an appeal, depending on whether you just lease your property or whether you operate or own your business out of it. Or potentially both by leasing a portion of your building. If you lease your property, first you will need to provide 3 years of tax return, income, and expense information to show the rental income received and whether it is at or near market rates. For the 3 years of income and expense statements, the income information provided can be the Schedule E documents from your tax return or other generated documents from QuickBooks or a similar program. Also, if your property is leased, the board will be looking for a detailed rent roll on your property showing the number of tenants leasing your property and the square footage occupied by each tenant. A copy of the lease may also be requested by your attorney, so it is best to have that information available and ready. For owner-occupied properties, an appraisal written exclusively for property tax assessment appeal purposes will be the best valuation method. Other appraisals, such as financing used as part of the purchase of the property, will be given secondary consideration. So why is an appraisal recommended for your appeal? An ad valorem appraisal written specifically for valuation purposes for use by the Board of Review provides an independent opinion of value and serves as the gold standard for appeal evidence. It takes a comprehensive look at your subject property, including a full property description, its best and current use, and may include an income valuation based on comparable market rents in the area, as well as comparable sales of similar properties within that market area. Again, if you're working with your attorney, they will likely recommend which appraiser to work with, given the relationships they have already established. It is important to remember that comparable sales outside of an appraisal are given minimal weight by an analyst as part of an appeal review. Again, the appraisal serves as an independent third-party detailed look at your property valuation, which would be given the most weight. We encourage you to work with your attorney to obtain one. There is a cost associated with acquiring an appraisal, but when weighed against the potential tax savings paid, it may be an investment worth making. So the two main resources we would like you to visit and become familiar with are the Cook County Assessor's Office site and the Board of Review site. Again, two separate agencies set up to value your property, which both offer an opportunity for you to contest that value. Here you will find important information such as the dates and deadlines for filing an appeal, when your property will be reassessed, and all of the rules associated with filing an appeal and what guidelines the Board of Review considers when reviewing an appeal. Each of these taxing bodies has a board that is elected by the public. We encourage you to learn and know the system to get engaged by voting for your elected officials, specifically those who are working to ensure that the Cook County property tax system is being conducted in a fair and equitable way. For the forms we discussed today, such as the rent roll description, the vacancy affidavit, and other resources, please visit cookcountyboardofreview.com/forms. If you're working with an attorney, they will likely be familiar with the site and the resources available. So before we wrap up, we want to take a look at some of the reasons a property tax assessment appeal will be rejected by the Board of Review. And 9 times out of 10, it is due to incomplete evidence. For example, the lack of an appraisal when no other strong evidence is provided, or a request for vacancy by the client without an affidavit or dated photos, or if you purchase the property below market from a family member or friend. This is an instance where an appraisal will provide that independent valuation. Economic vacancy is another instance where you're unable to collect rents from your tenants, and it's causing a financial hardship. This is different from actual market-based vacancy where no tenant is in place. Another instance is an appeal based on below market rents, or if rent concessions are provided as part of a lease, that is not a consideration for tax relief by the board. Again, we encourage you to visit the Board of Review website and work with your attorney to strategize your best approach to appealing your valuation. And on the screen now, there is a QR code. If you're able to scan that, that will allow you to stay up to date with all the information related to District 2. And again, with the Board of Review website. We would encourage you just to visit that, take a look at the steps and the rules, and familiarize yourself with the Board of Review jargon so that when you do meet with an attorney, or if you already have an attorney, you're bringing information to the table and informing them and driving that process. And that ends up being some of the best appeals that we'll see. With that, that concludes our presentation. There's contact information if you want to jot that down. But we'll go ahead and open it up for questions, if any. All right.
Okay. Any questions? Going once.
I have one. I'll start off.
Yes, sir.
Speaking as a former employee of the Board of Review, when someone wants to hire an attorney, is that process now in person or is it Zoom? And then part two, are consultants allowed to present evidence for the taxpayer?
So are you asking if the hearing is in person or via Zoom?
Correct. The hearings.
We're still Zoom for hearings, Teams really. And then, no, we don't take consultants at the Board of Review.
Okay.
Thanks, Mari. Any other questions? Yes, Danita.
Are there resources on hand for business owners who may not have access to direct capital to get lawyers? Do you guys have any reference database that businesses can go to for lawyers who are specifically used to doing and handling these specific cases?
No, we're not allowed to give references.
Is there a database, not necessarily your reference, but is there a database that's accessible for business owners? For example, if they come to the chamber and they ask these questions, you know what? I take that back. Sorry, I just answered my own question asking it. Sorry about that.
No, that's okay. And Matt, is there another resource that you know of that we could?
I don't have an exact resource, but I will take a look, Mr. Robinson. If I find one, I will certainly forward it your way.
Thank you.
All right. Any other questions? Well, I'd like to, Commissioner, is there anything you'd like to close with?
Just thanking you again for having us.
Well, it was wonderful to have you. Thank you so much. And if people have questions, who should they follow up with, Commissioner?
I would suggest following up with Matt Fournier. He is my director of commercial property valuations.
Correct. This number on the screen here, this will go directly to our office. It'll get forwarded directly to me. So either this phone number or this email address, BOR district2info@cookcountyil.gov. We do monitor that, and we are pretty responsive on that. So I believe that's the best way to get in touch with us.
Thank you so much.
I do have one final question, Matthew. How can we keep up the time period for property owners to file taxes so we won't miss the deadline for our township?
So that's a great question. So our dates and deadlines are all published the day we open up a new township, they're published. But I will recommend that you can go in today if your township hasn't closed yet for filing. We do allow for pre-filing. So at any time, you or your attorney can go in and file a pre-file with the Board of Review.
And it's on our website.
Yes. CookCountyBoardOfReview.com.
Perfect.
All right. Anything else? Amari keeps coming up with questions. Well, thank you so much for the presentation today. Really, really appreciate it. Commissioner, thank you for making yourself and your team available for businesses that are trying to navigate this process. And, you know, we hope to continue our dialogue. And again, thank you so much for being here. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Elliot.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.